State comes to Happy Valley to take on number 7 Penn State. How happy will Happy Valley be? We'll find out. Michigan, Ohio State about to go to overtime. Penn State has to have an Ohio State win in order to get to the Big Ten championship game. It's time for our AT&T Inside Access, waiting, as we all are, down in the field. Allison Williams with James Franklin.
Thank you guys very much, Coach Franklin. That game in Columbus with so many implications for your team and your season is going to overtime. How do you make sure that no matter what happens in that game, it doesn't affect your team?
By not talking about it. Michigan State, Michigan State, Michigan State, Michigan State. It's awesome having all these Lettermen back. I think we got over 250 Lettermen. LeVar out there. I'm looking at him. Looks like he can still play. We're focused on this game and this great environment we have. Speaking
of Michigan State, you told us they are a scary team. What makes them that?
I think they're the best 3-7 team in the history of college football. I know that sounds crazy. They took Ohio State to a one-point game last week. They've been great over the last 5 years. Coach D'Antonio has done a tremendous job. We better be ready to play.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Allison, thanks very much. Brock Eward. James Franklin can say what he wants to say. By the way, I'm Brock Shoes, and here with Brock Eward. He can say it's all about Michigan State. He can say they're focused on what's happening on the field. But they'll hear, most likely, a reaction in this stadium at some point as to the outcome of Michigan, Ohio State. As a player, how would you ever hope to deal with those emotions?
It's actually easiest for the player because you're starting to focus now on that opponent across from you. You're focused on that play script, your execution. Yeah, you've been sitting here warming up, and I'm sure they try to turn every TV off, but they've got phones. These players, when they ran out on the field, knew it was a tight game. And none of them know that that game right now is in overtime. D'Antonio could care less. He wants to play with nothing to lose today. I don't know. I'm ready to play. After watching all this ball and all the ramifications of everything going on, I'd be ready to suit up and get after this one, too.
Penn State won the toss. They have elected to receive. On the back of our cart camera down on the sideline, we're showing a very select few. Overtime as it begins between Michigan and Ohio State. Miles Sanders on the return for Penn State. Dodging tacklers, and he is out to about the 30-yard line. Well, there's a reason, Brock, that James Franklin wanted to take the football if they won the toss. That's because their offense, over the last 7 games, this win streak, they're averaging close to 40 points per game. And Trace McSorley, he has been, in many ways, the light that has lit this fuse.
He makes everyone around him better. He's the eraser for an offensive line that's got lots of moving parts. And I think as a head coach, too, this is also a statement of we want to be the aggressors in this. If the opponent has nothing to lose and plays that way, we have to as well.
Play action for McSorley on first down. He'll tuck it under and run. That's become a weapon for the Penn State QB as he picks up 2 yards. Riley Bulla brought him down, but of course, Saquon Barkley is really the engine behind this Penn State offense, turning things around as this season has gone on.
He's the best player on the field. Michigan State has to contain him. He loves to bounce and get outside, and that's where he's most dangerous.
A handoff to Barkley, and he tries to drive through tacklers to keep the play alive, and maybe picked up a half yard, brought down by Robert Bowers. So again, Penn State, Michigan State, the outcome of this game, well, it will be in many ways determined by what happens at the Horseshoe as they are about to go to overtime between Michigan and Ohio State. Again, that cart for us going to keep on driving back and forth behind that Michigan State bench as now Penn State flinches, and they'll be called for a 5-yard foul.
No, I think it's going to go against Cooper.
Offside. Defense number 98. Jumped into neutral zone, forcing the offensive player to react. 5-yard penalty.
Pretty critical penalty. It's coming right at you here at the bottom of the screen, and you can see Demetrius Cooper, the redshirt junior, trying to get a half step on one of those backup tackles. He forces the flinch there from right. That's the right call. And 3rd and 8, very different than 3rd and 3. Opportunity to still run the ball here, which Penn State does best.
Play clock under 10 as McSorley looks over to the sideline and now tries to set the play. Some confusion. A big early 3rd down. Play clock at 4. And they have to call a timeout. James Franklin will do just that to avoid a delay of game. So Penn State, knowing how critical every 3rd down in this game could be, and also knowing what may happen to help them get to the Big Ten championship game has just happened at the Horseshoe. They're cheering all around Happy Valley now because Ohio State has just scored a touchdown. That emotion, I'm sure, transferring down to that Penn State sideline. This is a wild scene that we're in here.
Surreal. I think for all of us involved, everybody in the truck, right, all the moving pieces, for us getting ready to plan, we're all creatures of habit. And we love everything dialed in and prepped and ready to go. And I'll raise my hand, be at the top of the list. It's kind of a type A personality. And this is one of those moments that you've got to be flexible. You got to be nimble. And if you're Penn State, you do, as you heard James Franklin, have to focus on Michigan State, Michigan State, and Michigan State as much as you can.
After the timeout, 3rd down and 2.
You want to check with me, and you'll see this throughout the day today. Many times this is a numbers count based on the safeties and their depth as well.
Zone read, McSorley. He will be brought down short. So it will be a 3 and out to start for Penn State. Here's what just happened at Ohio State. First possession of overtime. Quarterback run, J.T. Barrett into the end zone for a Buckeye touchdown. And Ohio State will send their defense out of the field to try and win a game, Brock, that if they are to pull this off in overtime is nothing short of miraculous because their offense was invisible for almost 4 quarters.
Could not throw it the entirety of the game. But turnovers in big games are so critical, and they won that margin.
Wobbly punt, and then Sowers waves his team away from the football, and it will take a Nittany Lion bounce. Well inside the 15-yard line, all the way down inside the 14-yard line. There was a question as to who would take the field at quarterback to start the game for Michigan State. Would it be Tyler O'Connor? Would it be Damian Terry? It looks like Damian Terry and Tyler O'Connor are both in the huddle. And it will be Terry that will come out at quarterback. Actually, both players are out there. As Tyler O'Connor, it looks like, will join a wide receiver group to the far side right. Damian Terry will take the first snap at quarterback.
Be ready for a double pass. Penn State better be aware a quarterback is in the slot.
Zone read instead. A handoff. And getting loose is R.J. Shelton. And he's all the way out across the 20, close to the 23-yard line. Now, before the game, as the team broke up and went to the Michigan State locker room, Mark D'Antonio was down there with his quarterback's coach, Brad Salem, and both of the two quarterbacks having a discussion, I guess, about just this, what the plan would be to start the game.
I'm going to need both of you. I'm going to need both of your skill sets. Going to be all hands on deck to get this done in this building this afternoon.
2nd down and 1. Terry stays in as the starter. And that is an easy first down for Michigan State. Right up the gut, Brandon Bell made the stop on L.J. Scott. And Allison, you know why the plan was what the plan was at quarterback for the Spartans.
Because this game is important to both players, really. Tyler O'Connor making his last start for Michigan State. But on the other side, you've got Damian Terry, who's from Pennsylvania. And this will be his one chance to play in front of his home state. So Mark D'Antonio told us both of those personal factors would go into his decision as to who starts.
Terry off play action, over the middle, wide open. He's got Shelton. R.J. Shelton breaking tackles. Inside the 35 of Penn State. Malik Golden eventually brought him down.
You said to me last night in our meeting, Bob, why the two quarterbacks? Has there been enough success with Terry in there? And I told you, Terry's an excellent runner, and you may need it against Penn State's group up front, who's been really dominant over their 7-game winning streak. And if he can add that component, and even the threat of that component in the passing game, will be much more difficult to contain than they've been in their struggle of a season.
L.J. Scott up the middle into the secondary. 7 more. Marcus Allen made the stop. Well, we called the Michigan State game. Michigan State, first drive offensively, right down the field, scored a touchdown. Against Ohio State, first drive offensively, right down the field and scored a touchdown. But in both of those games, the offense sputtered big time after those opening drives.
And what you're seeing right now is Michigan State getting a hat on a hat. You're here targeting the negative defensively. It's wonderful on your O-line when they're targeting the blocks the way they are here in the first 15.
L.J. Scott has a crease again, dragged down from behind, but picks up the first down. as Garrett Sickles makes the stop at the 22.
And O.J. Scott's been a monster here down the stretch. Saquon Barkley going to get plenty of talk and conversations. Tyler O'Connor doing what Tyler O'Connor does, and that's support his teammates as a redshirt senior. The 400-yard gains out of his last 5. A week ago, a career day, 160 against the Buckeyes. They'll win this game, and they'll go as far as number 3 takes them this afternoon.
O.J. Scott motions into the backfield. Wide receiver screen, scooped up by Medeiros. And he's in the red zone. It'll be 2nd down and 7. Manny Bowen made the stop. There is a 4th down play coming up between Michigan and Ohio State in overtime. The last gasp for the Wolverines to try and extend the game. We'll have the update in a moment, but it looks like Michigan may extend the game in overtime. And what will be the reaction as that comes across to the fans here in Happy Valley? They won't be happy. 2nd down and 7. Long throw, Damian Terry intended for R.J. Shelton. Now it will be 3rd down and 7.
Damian had him there, and that's part of his challenge as a passer. A terrific athlete. You're going to see plenty of zone read. A wonderful throw over the middle of the field on this possession. But everything you want, you had Bowen on the blitz, a linebacker. Just got to set your feet and trust that throw across the field.
Comes a Penn State blitz on 3rd down. Damian Terry whips one to the 10-yard line that Monty Medeiros is able to wall off Grant Haley and hold on to. It is 1st and goal, Michigan State at the 9.
Called it beautifully. That's a 6'1 senior receiver against a 5'9 corner. And at times, just post him up. Like old school hoops. Right there, give me the ball, throw it to my outside arm. That's just a post entry in basketball. And boxing out and using your frame against an undersized corner. That's a big-time 3rd down conversion. Not enough of those in the execution of this offense through the course of the season. I can't script it much better than this to begin for the Spartans.
9th play of the drive. Michigan does score a touchdown. Amara Darboh extends overtime. Damian Terry back of the end zone over the head of Shelton.
I'll tell you what you're seeing here, and Damian Terry seeing a fair amount of some pressure. Last 3 snaps, you've seen extra defenders for Brent Pry, the D coordinator there for Penn State. It's done a marvelous job with his group as they've gotten better. And we've got a guy making his first start of the season. What you don't want him to do is come into this environment and be comfortable. Penn State in attack mode defensively.
They show blitz again. Here they come. Running right into it is Damian Terry. And has there been more of an impact player in that front 7 this year for Penn State than Garrett Sickles?
No. Maybe Curtis Scott for an inside number 52 because he sets the table for everybody else. But out on the edge, you're looking at the number 1 guy when it comes to sacks. 6 on this team. Tackles for loss. That puts him now at 12.5 for the season. Single-handedly took over that Ohio State game in the second half when he came off a suspension. Big play there to force the 3rd and extra long.
11th play, and this is 3rd and goal now outside the 10. Blitz off the edge, off his back foot, rifling one through the back of the end zone. Is Damian Terry, intended for Donnie Corley. That was Brandon Bell that came on the blitz. So Penn State's defense bends, but they don't break. They get a red zone stop, and it will be Michael Geiger try and put Michigan State on the board. If he does, Brock, it would officially mean that Michigan State has had the lead at some point in every game they've played this year. And there are 3-8 football teams. Hard to believe.
Nearly impossible.
28-yard field goal attempt for Geiger. And again, Michigan State is able to strike first. They've got the early 3-0 lead. We'll keep our eyes on the game as well when we return.
ESPN College Football. Brought to you by the Venture Card from Capital One. What's in your wallet? ESPN College Football. Brought to you by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy. And Jiffy Lube. We do more than just oil changes, all in a jiffy.
It's one of those days that makes college sports so special. Senior Day, and a group of seniors that stayed through thick and thin here at Penn State. Brock, and the hugs for James Franklin. Brian Guile, one of those fifth-year seniors that played D-tackle, offensive guard, now the starting center. And there are a lot of tears on Senior Day at these programs. And we saw some of them before the game.
Not many of them left. One of the smallest senior classes in all of college football, but gritty to say the least.
Back to the offense goes Penn State. Play action for McSorley. Steps up in the pocket, heaves a deep one over the middle, and that's incomplete. Cy Blacknall, the intended receiver, stumbled a bit, and he was looking down at the turf as the ball was in the air. Couldn't relocate it. Justin Lane was there in coverage. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
I said to you driving over here, if I'm the coordinator calling plays today, I want to test these freshman corners out on the edge for Michigan State often and early. And I think you can dictate some of your aggressiveness, some of your mindset going into this game. Post route, trying to get over the top of quarters coverage, nowhere to go.
Barkley caught behind the line and dropped for a loss of 2. Robert Bowers with another tackle for loss. It will be 3rd down and long, and this is a team that has not done well this season on 3rd down.
Well, it's these situations, and whereas Michigan State was targeting on their offensive line and getting movement and a hat on a hat, Joe Moorhead's looking at 3 run plays right now where Michigan State's getting on the edges, where they're getting after this young, inexperienced offensive line with lots of new moving parts.
3rd and 13. Blitz coming. McSorley keeps the play alive, uses his plant hand, and unloads to DeAndre Tompkins. He dropped the ball. So it will be a punt for Penn State.
McSorley's an athletic dude. It's what he does. He creates, much better at extending plays. Let's see if he's able to use that plant hand. Nope. Replay will take a look at this as they look at every single play. To me, that was pretty obvious. That left knee was down.
Ruling on the previous play was an incomplete pass. Ruling on the further review.
Now, in case you're wondering why a replay of the quarterback for the home team being down on what would be a sack is drawing this kind of a reaction from the crowd, well, that's because Ohio State just got the job done. The Buckeyes have scored in overtime, double overtime to be exact. And now James Franklin and the Nittany Lions know it. If they win today, they are going to the Big Ten championship game. That television on the back of our camera cart might be the only one in the building that any of these fans can see. Although I would wager Watch ESPN might have been up on a phone or two because the whole building exploded just as the touchdown was scored. What a scene. And a win that when you go back and review it is nothing short of miraculous from an Ohio State standpoint.
And just such a tough line that you walk. They didn't have this game on the big screens. You know, there's certain times you go in the venues and they'll have games on the big screen. None of it. No evidence of it. Now, obviously, in the suites, in the press box, everybody was tuned in outside. Tailgating, everybody was watching and waiting for the outcome. But if you're James Franklin, you're a little bit torn on this. You know, he told us this week, he addressed it with his team. You don't hide information. You can't do it in this day and age anyway. Addressed it early in the week of the scenario, but all those kids on the sideline felt that roar. And every single one of them knows right now.
Here's the result of the review.
After further review, the quarterback's knee was down at the 14-yard line. As a result, it'll be 4th down and 21 yards to go at the 14-yard line. The clock will start on the ready for play.
And every kid knows they now control their destiny. You control it. And you've come out on your first 2 offensive possessions and been a mess. Your offensive line has been dominated. You've been going backwards. Michigan State controlled the game. And I'm sure at some point there's going to be some messaging between James Franklin, his coaches, these players, to let them know you've got now 52 minutes to control your destiny to Indianapolis.
Blake Gillikin to punt from inside his own 5-yard line. Another wobbly one. Sowards lets it bounce, and it takes another good Nittany Lion roll to the 31-yard line with a very late flag thrown.
There is no foul for unnecessary roughness on the previous play. First down.
So the flag picked up. Penn State, Michigan State. A 3-0 lead for Michigan State, but this happened a moment ago. Curtis Samuel, touchdown, overtime, ball game. Ohio State wins the game as they come from behind and beat Michigan. And there was a roar for those of you that might just be joining us now here in Happy Valley. The entire crowd reacting to the fact that they now know Penn State, with a win today over the 3-8 Spartans, will be headed to the Big Ten championship game. Terry with a handoff to L.J. Scott. Met at the line and dropped Brandon Bell, the first Nittany Lion there.
And isn't there a large part of you that believes, as I do, Bob, that guy wanted it that way? That he wants Penn State with everything locked and loaded. He wants everything on the line today. He loves his team. Been through more adversity than any year other than his first year at Youngstown State when they were 2-9. He would want it this way.
Play action and a bootleg for Terry. Throws across his body, and scooping it up is Josiah Price. And that is good enough for a first down and a gain of 11 as we check in with Allison.
Well, the only reason this Penn State team knows the outcome of that game is the reaction of the crowd. There has been nothing that has been put up on the Jumbotron, on any of the ribbon boards. It was something that was discussed and debated whether they would announce the final score of that game. They clearly have chosen not to, but Mike Gesicki, the tight end for Penn State, was standing very near the stands, and after that cheer came out, the score went final. He paced up and down the sidelines telling his guys, it's on.
It is on, and this is a terrific college football atmosphere anyway, as L.J. Scott is cut down by Malik Golden, but now it has a little extra, or should I say a lot extra to it, as the crowd immediately knew what had happened.
Well, take a look at the big boys up front, though. I mean, you are a hat on a hat, and you are targeting your guys, and that's bad news bears. And this is now a possession and a half where you see those big men in Michigan State, they too, with lots of moving pieces up front. They're winning. They're winning the most important area of the field, and that's the line of scrimmage today.
Straight quarterback power. And Terry moves across the 50-yard line, about 2 yards shy of the first down. Garrett Sickles, Brandon Bell sandwiched him at the Penn State 49, and now we've got Jason Kabinda injured. The heart and the soul in the middle of that Penn State defense is the junior Jason Kabinda. He was injured in the opener against Kent State, missed 5 games. Brandon Bell would also become injured and miss 5 games as well. And those two returned for the Ohio State game, and that turned into the signature win for James Franklin, and Bell and Kabinda, big reason why.
And it's just friendly fire, unfortunately, for Kabinda here. This D-line pursues and plays so hard, and Garrett Sickles is the guy, the engine that makes it go. And you could see him chasing that play down on the backside, hits his buddy. And this Penn State team needs their Kabinda for this one.
It's been an emotional roller coaster that took the crowd from the parking lot into Beaver Stadium. In the backs of their cars, at the tailgates, they were watching Michigan, Ohio State. And what a roller coaster of emotions it's been. Every good play or score for Michigan, these were the reactions. Every time Ohio State scored, the Penn State fans couldn't have been happier. And then, of course, this was the reaction when Curtis Samuel scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime at the Horseshoe, which means this game is for a trip to the Big Ten title game and a division title for Penn State. Brandon Bell jumped in the neutral zone. It's a free play for Michigan State. And taking advantage as L.J. Scott turns the corner. He's got a gain of 11 and an easy first down.
Offside. Defense number 11. That penalty's declined. Result of the play is a first down.
Penn State trying to get a half-step advantage. You see Bell, that's obvious. Watch Prescott Lyon, the fullback, come right into your screen, and that shot, that's indicative of this first quarter. It's Michigan State that's bringing the hammer. It's Michigan State that's bringing the physical play. I think a lot of us wondered how much would be in the tank for Sparty after taking Ohio State to the buzzer a week ago. I think you're seeing it in the first half of this first quarter.
L.J. Scott again finds a crease inside the 30-yard line before he's tripped up right at the first down marker by Brandon Bell. And that is without measurement. Another Spartan first down.
And that's Josiah Price, the tight end, all over Koa Farmer, the linebacker, not letting go, driving blocks down the field. You see Michigan State go up-tempo. Penn State can't get off blocks right now.
And it's Damian Terry at quarterback getting a start in his home state. Backwards pass. R.J. Shelton back to Terry. Blockers out in front. He's inside the 20. He's inside the 15 before he's brought down at about the 13-yard line. The trick play gives Michigan State a first down in the red zone, a gain of 15.
Nothing to lose. Empty the playbook. Take advantage of every opportunity you have. Damian Terry making the first start this season. Kabinda back in. That's good news for Penn State. But you've got an opportunity to be a season wrecker here if you're Sparty on this side and to find a way to find just a little pleasant surprise after a very difficult 3-8 season.
L.J. Scott lost a yard on first down. Marcus Allen made the stop.
Shelton's a dynamo. He's a slot receiver that does just about everything. Used to be a running back. Not surprised that they run the double pass and give it to Shelton for him to throw back across the field to Terry. This is what you do when you're 3-8. You go for 2-point conversions a week ago against Ohio State. Good timing there for Terry. Just a good enough actor to create that opportunity. And once again, big fella's getting a hat on a hat.
L.J. Scott brought down behind the line again. Ryan Buchholz came through first. Now, the last time Michigan State was down inside the 15-yard line, Penn State got a stop and forced a field goal as their defense now is in position to get another red zone stop, but their offense has lost 8 cumulative yards in the first 12 minutes.
And a quarterback, you got to be careful here. Understand there's an opportunity for points. Don't take a sack and don't take any unnecessary risk down the field.
4-man rush on 3rd and 16. Damian Terry bullets one outside the numbers, incomplete. So it will be another field goal attempt for Michael Geiger to try and stretch to an early 6-0 lead for Michigan State. Six yards for Geiger. He's got another just inside the left upright. So Michigan State has the 6-0 lead. And it's rivalry weekend. And tonight at 8 on ABC, number 15 Florida, number 14 Florida State in Tallahassee. As always, it is streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
We've had a chance to see the Seminoles a couple times. I think both times we left the venue saying, man, Dalvin Cook was the best player on the field. That's some struggles there. Florida State defensively, you can see it. He's now the record holder as well. Basketball work done a week ago, did Dalvin. All Foreman did was have just another 100-yard game for the Longhorns with the breaking news today that I'm sure everybody is aware of. They'll move on from their head coach. Looks like Tom Herman will be the new man replacing Charlie Strong. Lots of movement today on the head coaching fronts in college football.
How about Ed Orgeron holding on to the job in Baton Rouge? Miles Sanders deep to return the kick.
He's dangerous. The freshman's gotten better and better each and every week for Penn State.
Kevin Cronin, the kickoff man, with a line drive, and this one returnable from just outside the 5. Sanders breaks a tackle to the 23-yard line. It is a wild day of college football. Keeping us updated is Adnan Vert. All right, Adnan, thanks very much. Can Penn State pick up a yard? We're about to find out, as they are -8 in total yards on their first couple of possessions. And they go to their workhorse, Saquon Barkley. He hurdles up over the pile for a gain of about 1.5 yards as we take a look at today's impact players, brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
Well, there's no doubt Barkley is the engine that makes this whole thing go. Godwin's a guy, to me, that's going to have matchup opportunities one-on-one against a true freshman. Riley Bola, the captain, the difference maker, over 200 tackles in his career. And watch Monte Nicholson. He's that safety, that extra, usually typically unblocked guy around the line of scrimmage. Got to be a sure tackler today.
Play action. McSorley to the sideline. Reaching up to make the catch. Mike Gesicki. Number 1 this season. Receptions by a tight end in the Big Ten and yards by a tight end in the Big Ten. He's got 19 more on that catch.
Number 1 in the history of this school that's put out a lot of good tight ends to the next level when it comes to receptions in a season. Single season now, his 43rd. You see that length and their ability to take advantage of it.
The first down of the game for the Nittany Lions. Sorley, well protected, extends the play, heaves one up the middle, and it's incomplete. Again, he was looking for Saeed Blacknall. Again, Blacknall had a tough time locating the football. It'll be 2nd down and 10. And Brock, this is the way Penn State plays. They will take their shots.
They will, and they love the creativity of their quarterback. I would warn him to be a little careful late down the middle. Michigan State is a 2-safety team. They love to play their base quarters coverage or quarter, half. If you're going to throw it late down the field, you better be real aware of where those safeties are.
Right side of your screen there, you might have seen Grayson Miller, number 44, for Michigan State, getting the start in place of Demetrius Cox, who was left home off the trip. McSorley, zone read for a half yard. Chris Fry, who has played every game this season, has started every game this season, and mere mortals may not have with some of the injuries that he has had to fight through. He basically had that left arm immobilized when we called their game against Michigan, and he still found a way to play.
He is a warrior. He's their leading tackler. He's been there through thick and thin this season, and right now he's pulling the trigger in the run game. What I mean by that is he's not hesitating. He sees that zone read. He got the perimeter people to have their containment on Saquon, and he's going right at number 9.
Michigan State shows blitz on 3rd and 10. Here they come. McSorley off his back foot to the sideline. Chris Godwin, 1st down.
That's some of the timing and precision that you didn't see from this offense early in the year when they struggled so mightily on 3rd down. It's comeback. And you can't throw it much better than that. You love the underneath zone coverage there if you're Michigan State to try to get out under that corner, not give the window of opportunity. That's the kind of execution Penn State's going to need if they find themselves too many times in those 3rd and extra longs.
McSorley again to the air. This time it's DeAndre Tompkins. Stiff up inside the 30. He He's got a first down. Out of bounds at about the 27. He put the stiff arm to the true freshman Justin Lane, a gain of 13.
There's that true freshman out there on the perimeter, and Sparty's going to be willing to do this. They're going to want to keep everything in front of them, try to limit that big play. But if you play that defense and you play that soft, you've got to come up and make that tackle upon impact.
Chance to get one more play off before the end of the quarter for Penn State. McSorley looking over with 7 seconds on the clock. Let's see if they just let the clock expire. And it looks like it will go down to all zeros and end the first quarter. Will Penn State play in the Big Ten championship game? They have to beat Michigan State to do it, but Ohio State did their work for the Nittany Lions. Welcome back to Happy Valley. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewert, Allison Williams, and for those of you now watching us from back in Columbus, welcome to Happy Valley as well, because your Buckeyes have helped Penn State, and now it's your job to root against Penn State. As amazing as this flip-flop is, Penn State, they beat Michigan State, they go to the Big Ten championship game. If Michigan State pulls off the upset, Ohio State goes to the Big Ten championship game. And here's Saquon Barkley to start off the second quarter with a hard-working 5 yards to the Michigan State 21-yard line.
Well, we saw it a couple weeks ago against Indiana. They were hard yards. And he had just not even 2 yards a carry with 32 different touches. He's a warrior back there. And this team will not flinch. It's been a second-half team that has not panicked all season long, and I don't expect them to tonight.
Barkley reverses field, follows McSorley, tries to turn the corner, and leaps out of bounds. And they have done well just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Monte Nicholson forced him out. He gets to the 20-yard line. Looks like it's a gain of 1, so it will be 3rd down and 4. First sustained drive of the game for Penn State. Can they keep it alive on 3rd down?
Keep an eye right in the middle here. Keep an eye on your tight end, your leading receiver, difference maker, especially in these downs and distances with that big body.
McSorley, quarterback draw. Short of the first down. Does James Franklin simply get points on the board, or will he go for it on 4th and 1 in the red zone?
You got to get points. On a day like today, in a game like this, you have got to find a way to get points. You don't want to give that opponent on the other side any momentum in my mind whatsoever that you don't have to. You take 3 with a kid that's been nearly automatic in his career.
91% so far this season, 93% for his career, by the way. He was 8 for 8 last season. 35 yards away to try to get the Nittany Lions on the board. And as usual with Tyler Davis right down the middle. It's been a battle of field goals so far as Penn State cuts the Spartan lead in half. It's rivalry weekend, and tonight at 7:30 in Death Valley on ESPN, the Palmetto Bowl, South Carolina, and the rivalry game with number 4 Clemson. The Tigers looking to keep their college football playoff hopes alive, and they can do it with a win over the Gamecocks. As always, you can stream it live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Our favorite kickoff guy in college football, because Joey Julius loves to run down and hit.
Kick it deep to R.J. Shelton. And this will hook to the left and go through the end zone for a touchback. Time for today's Aflac trivia question. 15 FBS teams have led in every game this season, but only 2 have losing records. Can you name them? If you were with us during the first quarter, we gave you not just a hint, we gave you the answer as to one of those 2 teams. See if you can get the other as well.
D'Antonio content to go with more of the running option. Damian Terry, kid from the state of Pennsylvania, making his first start of the season at quarterback.
And Gerald Holmes now in for L.J. Scott at tailback. Play action. Terry up the seam, wide open. Josiah Price lowers his shoulders And it takes 3 Nittany Lions to bring him down shy of midfield. Malik Golden was there first. That's a gain of 23.
Can't play action pass any better than that. Watch the reaction of your 2 middle linebackers. Brandon Bell, Jason Kabinda, they go 3 yards upfield. When you run it early, as they have, and been committed on their first 2 opening series, going up and down the field with that run game, that's a very easy pitch and catch. Play action pass at its very best.
Four-man rush. Terry heaves one down the sideline. That's incomplete, well over the head of Felton Davis. We heard Allison's report. Damian Terry, he's a junior from Erie, Pennsylvania. He got the start today because he's a Pennsylvania guy, and that was something they were planning on doing. But, Brock, are you surprised that he's still in there? Tyler O'Connor is still on the sideline.
No, I think this is all about the hot hand. And I think that Mark D'Antonio was very clear with both of them all week. He was clear as far as practice reps go and the way guys practice as to who was going to play. And you want points. That's your #1 priority when you're in a situation like that. Drive down, find a way to get points. And Damian has on the 2 opening drives.
A little end-around flip. And looking for room is Donnie Corley, and finding some. He is met by Oruwariye at about the 42-yard line, very close to a first down. It'll be 3rd down and short.
4-down territory? I mean, to me, this evening as it goes along, if I'm Mark D'Antonio and my offensive staff, that's the mindset that I want to have. I want to, at every turn, be the aggressor. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain for my seniors in this game. And I cross midfield. Why not? Why not put myself in a situation? I know my defense is going to give up some yards, and Penn State's pretty good and prolific offensively. I would take advantage anytime I cross midfield in these situations.
Well, it's already close enough to a first down. They're running the chains all the way across to measure. But last week, we saw Mark D'Antonio's mentality. What happened with 4 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes to go against Ohio State? He had a snap from the 3-yard line to try and, he thought at that time, possibly win the game. And he played to win. They went for 2. Now they came up short. But he knew that that was a decision that was made on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, and that's going to be the mindset tonight. And that's talked about throughout the week as it was last week when he had 4 2-point plays ready to go. There was no question. It's a, you know, they always say in business, separate emotion. So I want to take the emotion out of that. We've made the decision that we are going to play aggressively. And if this is 4-down territory, you won't find a better opportunity to take a shot than 3rd and inches.
3rd down and a half yard. Prescott line and Gerald Holmes in the offset eye. Terry, quarterback sneak, moves the pile. First down, Spartans.
Pretty good push. This has been the first quarter and a half of this game. Probably the biggest surprise to me. This Michigan State offensive line that's had as many new pieces as Penn State has on the other side. And that front 4 that plays 8, 9, 10 guys for Penn State right now is getting pushed around in a way that I don't think many expected coming into this evening.
Holmes inside the 40 for a gain of a yard. Again, if Penn State wins, they clinch the Big Ten East. They go to the Big Ten championship game. If Michigan State wins, the Buckeyes, off of a flat-out, miraculous, amazing overtime victory at the Horseshoe against Michigan, they would win the Big Ten East. They would go to the Big Ten championship game. So as hard as the Penn State fans were rooting for the Buckeyes to win their game against Michigan, all those Buckeye fans are rooting just as hard against Penn State back in Columbus, I'm sure right now. Terry flips one to Shelton. Blockers out in front to the 35-yard line. It brings up 3rd down and 5. Again, it's Malik Golden making the tackle.
One of those areas I love to watch is right here as well. You know, that game within the game. How much can you shorten this game? All the pressure is on Penn State. Sparty knows that. Mark D'Antonio knows it. It's why James Franklin told Allison before the game, this is the scariest team and the best 3-8 team maybe ever in the history of college football, because that guy knows how to coach to win.
They've had a lead in every game this season. Terry, blitz coming. Beats it on the slant. R.J. Shelton makes the catch inside the 25-yard line. And Allison, that offensive line is being held together as best they can by Michigan State.
Yeah, 7 different starting combinations up front, but already 2 changes on the right side. Brandon Clemens is done for the game. David Beadle is in there backing him up. And as I was talking to you guys, I just saw Cody Keeler head into the locker room, the right tackle. So more attrition up front for Michigan State.
It's pretty remarkable. And if you're in that situation, I think you got a quick pass. You got to do what they're doing. Commit to the run, play action pass, and get the ball out of your hand with that quick passing game.
Another handoff to Holmes. And the surge picks him up 3 to the 21-yard line.
You see a little bit of tempo as well, not allowing Penn State to substitute.
Very late, Penn State runs Troy Apke at safety. He was barely set, and they run the option right. And inside the 15, down to about the 12-yard line with a first down is Damian Terry. Jason Kabinda able to shake off that earlier injury, made the tackle. And here comes L.J. Scott back to the sideline as he has a big brace on the right knee. He had to go back to the locker room, and then they have him restabilized, but Gerald Holmes has run hard on this drive. And now Damian Terry shaken up. He was slow to walk back to the huddle, and now it will be Tyler O'Connor quickly putting the helmet on. He'll go in at quarterback. And we talked about the offensive line problems that Michigan State has had. They have had injuries with every personnel group. They have used a different starting lineup, not only on offense, but also on defense, in every game this year. 25 players have either started for the first time or are in a first-time starting role as a full-time starter this year for Michigan State. Now the starting quarterback, Damian Terry, obviously shaken up on that last play.
It's just incidental helmet-to-helmet contact there. That's one of the dangers of running the football at the quarterback position, but the benefit of having a quality starter right behind him.
O'Connor, handoff, Gerald Holmes. Close to the 11-yard line before he is stacked up and driven back.
If you're going to beat the number 7 team in the country, as you see the staff working on Damian Terry, the neck, the head, pretty violent shot there from Troy Apke to safety. But if you're going to do it, you've got to find a way to score touchdowns in the red zone. 2 field goals so far in 2 trips.
Play action. O'Connor, his first throw of the game. Underneath, he's got his big tight end, Jamal Lyles, who reaches the ball out just to pick up an extra yard possibly, but nothing more than the 7-yard line. Grant Haley on the stop, so it will be 3rd down and about 5.
Shelton and Price. 12 and 7, those are your difference makers. 12 and 82, 7 at quarterback now. Those are your 2 difference makers as D'Antonio looks at that call sheet.
How hard for Tyler O'Connor, coming off the bench cold, and now you're running plays right into the teeth of this student section.
90,000 barking at you, not hard. These are the moments you live for when you're the 5th-year senior.
Looks like Mark D'Antonio wants to talk things over. So a Michigan State timeout before a crucial 3rd down in the red zone.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Pizza Hut. Bitter rivals agree. Pizza Hut wins. And Buick. It's Black Friday all month long at your Buick dealer.
Happy Thanksgiving weekend to everyone. And we have our crew, all with their family selfies, taken on Thanksgiving before we made our way to Happy Valley. And there's the Heward family. Perfectly executed family selfie.
Long arms. The 13-year-old's got long arms.
Now, perfect execution, not what happened last week for Michigan State down near the goal line, especially on the 2-point play. What has to happen here for Tyler O'Connor? 3rd down and 5 inside the 10.
Cannot hesitate. Everything quickens up. Everything gets tighter down in the red zone. Hesitated. Pitched a couple times on the 2-point conversion. Have conviction.
He will throw up play action. Blitz coming. He does double clutch. And he goes down. Troy Apke untouched off the edge.
In very little room here. You're trying to play action, been successful on the drives. The safety blitz beats it, though. The only outlet was maybe in the flat or throw that thing in the back corner of the end zone, get it out of your hand to avoid the negative play. That one a little different than a week ago. That one, Brent Pry wins the chess match, bringing the safety, creating the sack.
3 double-digit play drives for Michigan State, all stall and result in field goal attempts. And Michael Geiger is now 3 for 3. Michigan State puts the lead back up to 6, but it's another red zone stop for James Franklin's defense. We welcome you back to the Aflac Trivia Question Answer. 15 FBS teams have led in every game this season, but only 2 have losing records. They are Michigan State and Ole Miss. It's hard to believe that Mark D'Antonio's team, again, having the lead in every game this season, managing to win only 3 of those games.
2 talented teams, been used to winning. Won an awful lot. This would be number 40 if those Michigan State seniors can get it tonight.
Last season, they were 6-1 in games decided by a touchdown or less. This year, 0-3. So even when they've had that chance in a close game to get a win, they've come up short. Miles Sanders breaks a tackle and gets bottled up along the sideline. Another check-in with Adnan. Interesting. We'll keep our eyes on that game because Wisconsin, they're already in the Big Ten championship game. They will represent the West. We know that. But they are in consideration for the college football playoff. They have to win to be in consideration to make it to the Final Four. So that game is enormous for Wisconsin if it doesn't determine a division title. There's Trace McSorley on first down. Long throw to the sideline. On the ladder, Deshaun Hamilton. He's got the first down.
That's big time, and that's one of the voids. Remember, we saw Penn State in Pitt earlier this year. Pat Narduzzi, same scheme. And I'll be very curious how much of we see that employed today. And they gave McSorley opportunities in the passing game. Didn't hit him early in the year, hitting him tonight.
There goes Saquon Barkley. And he'll try and turn the corner. Gets to the edge. It'll be second down and about 5, but Allison down on that Michigan State sideline. And boy, Allison, it goes from bad to worse for Mark D'Antonio's team.
Yeah, it really does. The injuries piling up for his offense. Running back L.J. Scott came out of the locker room with a brace on that right leg, but he went and talked to Sally Nogler, head athletic trainer. She sent him back in the locker room. He is done for the night. Also, their quarterback, Damian Terry, who'd been playing the entire game over here on the sideline, he too is done. Very emotional not being able to finish out this game.
And Andrew Dowell is on the sideline across the way, injured on the Penn State bench.
Wow.
So starting star linebacker Andrew Dowell is down.
How many different starters for this team this season?
Well, that was before today. They had 25 players that had either made their first start on either side of the ball or were first-time starters on a full-time basis. Now, the last time I checked, math expert, but I think there's only 22 starters in football, right? Don't they go 11 on 11?
Are you confident with those numbers?
So more than what would be a full complement of starters on both sides of the ball for Michigan State have changed from last year to this year, and during this season, they've never started the same lineup offensively or defensively in back-to-back games this year.
And why are you 3-8? That's why. You just don't have that continuity. Still got a lot of players that know your system inside and out, but playing so many young people for the first time.
But with a 9-3 lead midway through the second quarter on the road, earlier this season we had NC State coming off of that heartbreaking loss at Death Valley to Clemson. We had their next game at Louisville. How'd that turn out? Another long throw. Dropped in. DeAndre Tompkins wins in man-to-man coverage, and it's a first down for Penn State.
Yeah, you got everybody committed to stopping that run. Saquon Barkley is not going to beat you. That is the mindset tonight for Mark D'Antonio. And Trace McSorley, if you can throw comebacks, and you can throw sail routes, and you can throw corner routes, and you can do it with the kind of timing, anticipation, and accuracy you are tonight, you're going to tip your cap. This is the void. This is the one area that Michigan State right now is willing to give up.
With a nice catch. It looks like it will be good for about 5 yards, but he worked hard to pull that one down.
He's a good player. He's been a good player for a bunch of years here, been very productive. And you see the evolution of Penn State, why they are where they are, why they've won 7 in a row, being able to take advantage of what your opponent's given you. Not always pretty, many times dramatic, many times in the second half. But this team won't flinch in any way being down in the first half.
Quarterback run. McSorley, the C's part. He's got a first down. Back inside the 20-yard line. Riley Bullock, who became recently the 4th member of his own family to have 200 or more tackles in Michigan State history. He was there to make the stop, but not before. Trace McSorley picked up a first down, a gain of 10.
Right out of the playbook of Ohio State a week ago. How many times was it J.T. Barrett on a windy day against Michigan State? That same scheme, that QB draw.
Zone read, Barkley. Lost yards. Well, Penn State now might be back outside the red zone, but once they get inside the red zone, the field tightens, and that's where Trace McSorley is really struggling.
Yeah, so many aspects of his game I love. And as a first-year player, he's put this team, as far as the belief, really on his shoulders, and they rally around him. But these are the areas over the course of his career he will get better. It's tough. Those windows close. Everything gets tightened and tightened down and sped up in the red zone. Third downs, red zone, a couple places for a developing offense to still grow.
Second down and 14. Andrew Dowell able to get back in the game. Outside the numbers once again. Using a stick on the side of the block. That's a first down. First and goal at the 6.
More tempo from Penn State, and more picking on the true freshman corner, the 4-star receiver, Justin Lane, number 39. Play that soft cushion out there. Keep everything in front of you. You have to come up and tackle.
Flags down as Kevin Williams jumped, and Stephen Gonzalez, the left guard, may have flinched as well for Penn State.
Offside, defense number 92. Jumped in the neutral zone, forced the offensive player to react. Half the distance to the goal, still first down.
And it was Kevin Williams that influenced the flinch from Stephen Gonzalez. And the penalty goes against Michigan State.
Yeah, right in the middle of your screen.
First and goal inside the 5. Saquon Barkley in the trips left. Barkley up the middle, very close to the goal line. Brought down inside the 1. It'll be second down and goal.
Well, he can accelerate, can he? And that's what the great backs do. That's what Dalvin Cook has done. And those guys have such a nose for the goal line. 14 rushing touchdowns a season. And you see that will and that burst and explosion. I go right back to that well.
And the influence of using Barkley out on the edge and motioning him into the backfield?
You're just trying to get a feel for numbers. And you're trying to get an idea of what Michigan State and how they're going to defend those formations and those situations.
McSorley thought about a shovel pass. Now looking for the pylon and gets stacked up. It looked like he wanted Gesicki on a shovel pass, and it wasn't there. And so he improvised and came up short. Monte Nicholson saved the touchdown.
That's exactly what he did, and that's tremendous discipline from Michigan State on their side to have an awareness. But this got to be Barkley, doesn't it? I mean, the guy that's got 14 touchdowns, the best in the Big Ten. This is, to me, this is his time, and he's a guy that can not only accelerate, that man can elevate.
Again, they will use him as part of a trips formation split out. Now they'll look over, and we'll see if Barkley ends up in the backfield. Now he motions. Saquon Barkley leaps. That's a Penn State touchdown.
Certain times you see video in the weight room, 400-plus pound power clean really come to life on the field. That's one of them. That is a powerful, explosive young man.
Penn State's got the lead. The 15th rushing touchdown this season for Saquon Barkley. The 17th total touchdown. Number 1 in the Big Ten.
Get up! Get up!
All right, Adnan, thanks very much. The only Big Ten running back that is a Doak Walker semifinalist is Saquon Barkley. And his touchdown, he has now scored against every team that Penn State has played this season other than Michigan and Ohio State. Puts the Nittany Lions on top. This college football season, do what so many were doing before today's game began here in Happy Valley. Stream every game live on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN. Download the app or visit watchespn.com. Today, we saw this scene out in the parking lot, in the stands here at the stadium. Fans watching Michigan, Ohio State on their phones, keeping their fingers crossed that the Buckeyes would find a way to come from behind, and they did in double overtime. And that means that if Penn State can hold on and win today against Michigan State, the Nittany Lions, with that huge October win over Ohio State being the tiebreaker, would go to Indianapolis and the Big Ten championship game. Rolling right, Tyler O'Connor up the sideline. And that is a completion to R.J. Shelton. That is a first down. Well, Brock, moving the football has not been the problem for Michigan State. It's what's happened when they have gotten to the red zone.
It's been a nice mix. It's been moving the line of scrimmage, their run game, the play action off of it. None of the game plan will really change with Tyler O'Connor in. There's some QB run, the Damian Terry, and that's why Mark D'Antonio started him. But Tyler's got enough experience, well-versed enough in this game plan. I think you're going to see that continued mix of run-pass.
Blitz off the edge again. They screen behind it. Gerald Holmes hit and brought down by Garrett Sickles. Well, Tyler O'Connor's best game statistically this season was in relief. Brian Lewerke got the start after O'Connor missed the Maryland game because of injury and then didn't start against Northwestern in Week 6 because of being ineffective. Trap handoff, Gerald Holmes, and he grinds out a first down. But against Northwestern, Lewerke was not effective, and Tyler O'Connor came on in the second half off the bench and threw for 281 yards and 3 touchdowns, both career highs.
Nothing to lose.
O'Connor in trouble, hurls one to the sideline, and that one is incomplete. Pressure came from Garrett Sickles and Jason Kabinda. Let's check in with Allison.
Yeah, I talked to Tyler O'Connor earlier this week, and he said he's done so much rotating throughout the season, really throughout his career, that he's really just used to it, and he just goes with the punches, whatever is best for this team. He was happy for Damian Terry to get a chance to come out here and play in front of his home state. And he also said that he knows this is one of the only times, probably the last time, he will ever play in a crowd like this. He said, I'm just going to take it all in and just try and stay in the moment.
If he manages the clock well here, he may be able to give his team a halftime lead. And there's the check down. On second down and 10, it becomes third down and 5 as Donnie Corley gets to the 40-yard line. Michigan State still with a minute on the clock and 2 timeouts. tucks it under. Gets the first down. And stops the clock as well with 53 seconds to go in the half.
And for those of you that may have been watching a different game at the start of this one, you may not know that Michigan State kicked off to Penn State, so a chance to double up. Chance to go into halftime scoring those critical points, knowing you get the ball coming out. And it shows you, he's got the ability to run as well, not the strength of his game like it is with Damian Terry. I love that mindset that Allison talked about. If I'm Tyler O'Connor, it's the last game of football more than likely I will ever play in my career. Make the most of it. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Go cut it loose.
Another blitz from Penn State. O'Connor's got man coverage out on the edge. But a good job on Donnie Corley done by John Reed, as Reed simply forced him to the sideline, and Corley allowed himself to be taken out of bounds.
That's right, and that's as big a point as anything. Those line judges, those back judges aren't going to call that. You're giving yourself up now. If you're fighting to get back over the top and you're getting driven out of bounds, that DB's job, John Reed's, is to do just that. And your job as a freshman receiver is to try to get back on top for your senior quarterback.
And that's something I've learned about, especially this year working with you, how from a quarterback's perspective, you want to see your receiver not just fight for the football, but fight for that flag. Make an effort to force the official to throw the penalty marker. And Corley didn't do it there. End around. R.J. Shelton. A gain of maybe 2. So now with 44 seconds to go in the half, that'll be a gain of 3. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
And you're within Geiger's range here. He's already kicked 3 field goals for you. These are these moments. You're Mark D'Antonio. You're hoping your redshirt senior quarterback knows they do not take a sack. Nothing negative here. An opportunity going into halftime to still put some points on the board. Take care of that football.
No hesitation over the middle to Jamal Lyles. Was that the same decision that he failed to make on the 2-point conversion last week against Ohio State?
Pretty darn close. Very similar, little different route scheme and concept, but the same idea. Get the ball out of your hands.
Big 3rd down conversion, preserving the timeouts as well. There's the other tight end, Josiah Price, inside the 10-yard line. So here's Michigan State again, driving down into the scoring zone. They've settled for 3 field goals on their previous 3 tries here.
Just look at the demeanor and look at the body language of quarterback, of group that's following his lead, and the confidence they're playing with.
Gerald Holmes up the middle. And now you'll probably use one of those timeouts if you're Mark D'Antonio, as Marcus Allen made the stop on Gerald Holmes. 1 timeout now remaining for Michigan State, still with 21 seconds to go before halftime. It'll be 2nd down and goal when we come back in 30 seconds to Happy Valley. Michigan State finally cash in and put 6 or 7 on the board. Bob Wischusen, Rock Ewart, Allison Williams here at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley, with a trip to the Big Ten championship game on the line for either Penn State or Ohio State. If the Spartans can pull off the upset and win on the road, then the Buckeyes would head to Indianapolis, and they would take on Wisconsin if Penn State gets the win. And would that be the biggest Cinderella story this season in college football, if Penn State makes it not just to the Big Ten championship game, but very realistically in the conversation for the college football playoff?
Without question. Without question, get my best players, give them an opportunity, and that's Shelton and Price here in the red zone.
A flip to Shelton, turns the corner. Out of bounds inside the 5. Brandon Bell held the edge. Now it's 3rd down and goal.
Just about that same spot you had your 2-point conversion last week. 2-point conversion that we talked an awful lot about. The college football world did. We talked with D'Antonio this week that they were well prepared. Had 4 of them ready to go. Burned 2 of them through the course of the game. And I have a hunch if this is a pass, Mr. O'Connor's going to get the ball out a little quicker than he did a week ago.
And the timeout for Michigan State means the entire playbook is still at their disposal here on 3rd down and goal at the 3. Tyler O'Connor doesn't want to have to call it before the snap. They get the play off. End zone. Flag down. Incomplete, intended for Shelton. We'll have to check the penalty marker. It may be holding.
It was holding on the left tackle, Chewins.
Now, if you're James Franklin, do you give them another chance on 3rd down and back them up and make the field goal if you're able to get a stop a little more challenging?
I don't think so. No way.
You just decline it and have them kick it here?
Yeah, because you just watched an open receiver.
Offense number 61. That penalty's declined. 4th down.
No reason to play with fire there if you're Penn State.
And that's the youngster, one of many. Michigan State, Mark D'Antonio are having to play. The left tackle there, Cole Chewins, just gets beat. All he can do is reach and grab. That was a play kind of like the one a week ago that was there. There was an opportunity. Quarterback receiver to finish. And Geiger, his 4th opportunity on 4 pretty successful drives up and down the field.
4 double-digit play drives for Michigan State. All 4 stall, and now James Franklin wants a timeout before the field goal. Michael Geiger is 3 for 3, and this basically a chip shot that he'll try and convert after we step aside for 30 seconds and come right back. Welcome back to Happy Valley. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewert, Allison Williams. If Penn State wins, they go to the Big Ten championship game. Michigan State trying to play spoiler and send Ohio State to the Big Ten championship game. And this could very well give the Spartans a halftime lead. Short range for Michael Geiger. And he is 4 for 4 here in the first half. And barring a long run back by Penn State on the kickoff, the Spartans, who have had a lead in every single game this season and yet have only managed a 3-8 record, 1-7 in the Big Ten to this point. Brock, this is a proud group that keeps on fighting, and they may have a 2-point lead at the break.
Well, these seniors, remember, on one side you honored seniors at Penn State, just 12. One of the smallest classes in college football. They were 26 a week ago in East Lansing, and it is a proud group, and they should be. They should be proud of their accomplishment. They've been Big Ten champs, been to the Rose Bowl champs, Cotton Bowl. They've won a lot of games. They're not used to losing. As you see those scenarios lay out, it's pretty clear. Penn State's going to have a half. Now, to me, one of the telling and remarkable stories as well of Cinderella in college football and James Franklin is they've been a second-half team. Few better in all of college football when it comes to point differential in the second half.
And few worse in the second half than Michigan State.
And thus 9-2 and 3-8 in many ways. Finding ways to win, believing no matter what the circumstances are that you can find a way to finish. And on the other side, too many times for Michigan State, just unable to make the game-changing plays in the final 30 minutes.
Squib kick to try and keep it away from Miles Sanders. And it ends up in the hands of Brian Buchholz, who goes down with 9 seconds to go. Well, the script would have to be completely flipped in the second half for Michigan State to pull off the upset. Penn State, Brock, will be hoping that they'll be able to stick to what's gotten them to 9-2, and that is terrific second half performances.
You want to talk about the power of believing, and when everybody believes in your team, and I think McSorley and Barkley are the engines of that, and defensively they play really hard, and they finish, and they play a lot of personnel. We had a hunch this was going to be a close game. James Franklin told us as much, so did D'Antonio. And we're getting exactly what at least those of us in this crew expected.
McSorley takes a knee, and Penn State will have to have another terrific second half if they want to play for the Big Ten title. 2-point lead for Michigan State at the break. Time to go to the studio. Adnan Burke, Danny Cannell, and Joey Galloway with the halftime report. Welcome back to Beaver Stadium. You're watching the Big Ten on ESPN. Just about set for the start of the second half. Can the Penn State Nittany Lions close out their season with a win? They'll have to do it in come-from-behind fashion, but if they do, they are in the Big Ten championship game thanks to Ohio State's win over Michigan. It's been a wild day. We're right in the middle of it here in the Big Ten. Bob Wischusen, along with Brock Ewert, Allison Williams is with us as well. If Penn State is going to be able to do what they've done all season long, and that is be a great second-half team, somehow they have to get their run game on track. 17 carries, 14 yards in the first half.
They do, and that was the point that James Franklin made to Allison going into halftime. He credited Michigan State and what they're doing up front, moving pieces around. I think it's also the game plan of Sparty to say Saquon is not going to beat us tonight. You're going to have to do some different things offensively. Trace McSorley and that offense and the receivers on the perimeter have got to be difference makers because there was no room for Saquon Barkley. Michigan State was winning up front. They were winning the critical blocks. In order for Penn State to get to the full depth of that offensive playbook, the play action pass, the movement, it does start with that run game.
Penn State won the toss and took the football. So not only does Michigan State end the first half with a field goal to take the lead, but here's R.J. Shelton on the kickoff return to begin the second half. Let's check in with Allison.
Trampled the Lions. That's what head coach Mark D'Antonio told his Michigan State team at the half, especially when it comes to making plays down the stretch, something they have struggled to do this year. Now they will have to do that without their quarterback, Damian Terry, out for the rest of the game. He does have concussion-like symptoms, so that means they are down to one quarterback. Tyler O'Connor is going to be the only man behind center for them. They must protect him. And Coach D'Antonio pleased with the way they were able to move the football in the first half, but guys, as you know, they have to start getting touchdowns in the red zone. They cannot be settling for field goals, have to do a better job of picking up the pressure in the red zone.
That's all they did in the first half was kick field goals when they got deep. How about L.J. Scott out there to start the second half with the knee brace on under the football pants now. He's able to maybe get forward progress for a yard before he is driven back by Brandon Bell.
Brandon Bell and Curtis Cothran right in the middle. A couple names we didn't call an awful lot in that first half. And I'll say this. You've got two programs that have established some pretty unique cultures. James Franklin's done in year 3 and turned this thing for Penn State. The amount of guys that are just beat up for Michigan State and still playing at 3-8, often they will tap out. I'm out. I'm done. My body hurts. Cody Keeler's out there. He is all wrapped up. He's trying to survive. L.J. Scott gets knocked out with a knee injury. He comes back, shows the want-to and the sacrifice of a Michigan State culture that's accomplished an awful lot over the last 4 years.
Play clock at 5. O'Connor, play action, under some pressure, buying time, and throws it away. Well, if they are to protect Tyler O'Connor, they're going to have to keep a great pass rush off of him for the rest of the game, because in spite of the fact that Carl Nassib, Anthony Zettel, and Austin Johnson all went to the NFL, Brock, this group is still number 3 in the Big Ten this year in sacks.
Yeah, it's because of this. They could not keep Michigan State off schedule in that first half. The first 2 snaps they sure have, and feel the electricity of Beaver Stadium.
Four-man rush on 3rd and 9. O'Connor under pressure. Down he goes. Curtis Cothran got there first.
Penn State loves to run line stunts on 3rd down and obvious passing situations and play zone behind it. Curtis Cothran, a man possessed. You could see him take that inside charge. Those 2 D tackles run a stunt. He doesn't get picked up. That's the advantage of a 290-pound difference maker in the middle of your D-line.
They might give Evan Schwan a half a sack as well. Jake Hartbarger punting for the first time from his own end zone. And it's a wobbler, but it gets the job done. Across the midfield stripe, not too bad from the sophomore, averaging about 42 yards per kick for his career. That one for 44 in our Week 12 Monday Night Football matchup. As Aaron Rodgers and the Packers taking on the rookie Carson Wentz and the Eagles at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN. Our coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 6. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
Been a while since Penn State's been on offense, in large part because of Michigan State's ability to control that first half. They get what they want. A 3-and-out. They do it with their D-line. Let's see their adjustments in the run game. That was a priority going into halftime.
Close to an hour since Penn State ran a meaningful offensive play. They'll do it with Saquon Barkley here. And they begin with their best field position, taking advantage. A dive for 4 over Riley Bullough. And just like that, Penn State in plus territory.
Part of the reason you're such a dominant second-half team is your coaching staff. And this is a good one. James Franklin surrounded himself with an excellent staff, and their adjustments going into and coming out of halftime as big a deal as their success in the second half as anything.
McSorley on a keeper for about 3 more. Chris Fry tripped him up right at the 45-yard line. 3rd down and 3.
And that Sparty front seven, they were difference makers. You could see the shoulder square to the line of scrimmage. You could see the eyes in the backfield, never allowing a lane for Barkley. And then when they take Barkley away on the perimeter, those active linebackers there to finish the inside tackles. Couldn't do it much better in that first half as far as that run game goes, and that was a priority coming in. Make somebody other than Barkley beat you.
5-man rush. Beaten easily on the pitch and catch. McSorley to Saeed Blackmore.
That's now the 3rd little hitch, and that gets the tempo going. Chains move, the tempo goes. That's now the 3rd opportunity where that little 6-yard just pitch and catch. You can't get anything easier on 3rd down. And Michigan State content Justin Lane, the freshman, to keep everything in front of him.
McSorley's connected on his last 7 straight passes. 2 by 2 this time as Gesicki goes in motion. McSorley fakes to Barkley and moves the pile for about 3 yards. It still is a fight up front for that front 7 for Michigan State without their best and biggest difference maker. Malik McDowell brought first-team preseason All-American, projected to be a top 5 pick before the season started in the NFL draft. Ankle injury. He's been out the last 2 games and didn't even make the trip. So this is a younger group that Mark D'Antonio has gone to up front. McSorley off play action. Pumps once. He's looking end zone. Chris Godwin. That's a Penn State touchdown. Penn State takes the field position, turns it into 7. They've got the lead back.
Football is a game of adjustments, especially when you come out of halftime. Penn State, few better in the second half in making those adjustments. Hitch, well, not this time. How about a double move on a safety? That's taking advantage of your opponent, and that's some brilliant X's and O's in execution.
Celebrating its 12th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets. Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. Touchdown pass thrown from Trace McSorley to Chris Godwin. Godwin's 15th career touchdown here at Penn State. He's in the top 10 in receptions, yards, and scores, and his 8th this season. Gives the Nittany Lions the lead. R.J. Shelton looking for a lane on the run back. Flag down as he does get out to about the 31-yard line or so, but a couple of penalty markers thrown on the far side of the field.
During the return, holding number 24 on the return team. 10 yards from the spot of the foul, first down.
You know I love the clicker, especially in opportunities like this. Patience and protection. Watch Saquon Barkley pick up the blitz in corner. And watch the double move. The patience the quarterback and wide receiver have in that moment of truth. And the safety, Monte Nicholson, bites. And you've got to be comfortable and content as a quarterback to allow your wide receiver to beat that safety for just enough air. It's going to have to be a perfect pass.
Not when you're open by 8 yards because of a double move.
Is that ever a good feeling as a quarterback? That call is made, and you are hoping for that defense to take advantage of.
Bunch formation that L.J. Scott motions out of on first down. Tyler O'Connor lofts one up the seam. Oh, he had Josiah Price running free. And some conversations in that secondary between Marcus Allen and Brandon Bell.
Yeah, there's a bust there, and you can see the difference there. The impatience, unfortunately, for Tyler, who's got to trust his fundamentals. We were watching that on tape last week against Ohio State. On a gusty, windy day, that's the moment there. You've got to just set those feet in the pocket. There's chaos, and there's going to be chaos in this building in the second half. But stand strong and deliver. Missed opportunity for Sparty.
Very close to the first down. An accurate throw this time to Price, who settled down and found just enough of a soft spot to pick up the first down, a gain of 10.
Excellent protection. That set it up. That first down pass, you could feel that pocket collapsing around Tyler, and that time air. So he could scan from left to right, come back across the field. And I don't know about you, Bob, but I think the folks went in at halftime, and for those that didn't know what happened with Michigan, Ohio State, I think they do now, because this stadium, there's a different sense of energy. It's palpable here in the second half from what we felt early in this game.
Penn State shows a first down blitz. And running right behind the blitz is L.J. Scott. And he is met by Jason Cabinda. We expected some L.J. Scott, Jason Cabinda collisions today, and we got one there.
Two powerful men. That's a 230-pound battering ram, and L.J. knocked out of the game early, so was Cabinda. And both of these guys fighting. They know what's on the line. They know what's at stake. For L.J. Scott, it's pride for this crew to send the seniors out the right way. And for Cabinda and this Penn State team, who's been such a dominant second-half team, trip to Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship on the line here in the second half.
Again, that diamond bunch that they bring Scott out of on second down and 8. Play clock at 2. O'Connor, shovel pass. No, going nowhere. Cabinda in the middle of the pile, along with Torrance Brown all over Price, and now it's third down and long.
It's back-to-back first down snaps pressure, second down snap pressure. James Franklin said going into halftime to Allison, now Michigan State's been way too comfortable. They've been on schedule. They've been third and mediums. It's these third downs that are, well, a disaster for a rebuilt O-line, and play right into the hands of the speed at the second level of Penn State.
Here comes a 5-man rush. Long throw. Shelton slipped. R.J. Shelton lost his footing coming out of his break. I'm not sure he would have been able to pick up the first down anyway, but Tyler O'Connor, as a result, threw it right over his head.
4 possessions in the first half, 4 sustained drives, 4 field goal drives. And they did it by winning on third down, and third downs were much simpler than 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 11, the two that have knocked them off the field here in the second half.
A better punt this time from Hartbarger, and a fair catch at the 31-yard line by Greg Garrity. 46-yard punt, Penn State football. They've got the lead when we come back.
ESPN, home of the New Year's Six and the College Football Playoff. ESPN College Football, brought to you by Panera Bread, food as it should be, and Wrangler, be comfortable in your own jeans.
Welcome back to Happy Valley on this Thanksgiving weekend. And our crew taking some Thanksgiving selfies and saying Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there, from my family to yours as well, with Shoes and Kids making an appearance, as is LeVar Arrington, by the way, taking selfies over on the sideline. Brock, he spearheaded a charge to, in cooperation with James Franklin, get over 250 Penn State football alums to be on the sideline to see if they can cheer them on to the Big Ten championship game.
Kids are out of school for Thanksgiving break. This has been a challenging weekend to get everybody back in the building, and James Franklin challenged LeVar and some of those lettermen to come back. They've averaged about 50 or 60 or so a game, well over 200 in attendance tonight. Mission accomplished.
McSorley, play action, dumps it off to Saquon Barkley, got lost out of the backfield. tripped up at the 37-yard line by Darian Hicks, but it's a pickup of 6 on first down.
And you can see McSorley a little sore getting up. He's been a guy that we've watched this season. He gets banged up. He's willing to sacrifice that body, do whatever it takes. I'll tell you right now, this is a pretty critical drive. Michigan State is not built to come from behind. Part of the reason they have struggled so mightily in the second half, falling behind, disadvantage for Michigan State and the inability for them to have that run-pass balance and mix that they have to have. Big-time drive here for Penn State.
Blitz coming. Swing pass. Barkley makes the catch. Uses speed and picks up the first down. Andrew Dowell made the tackle, but not before Saquon Barkley got out to the 42-yard line, and a fresh set of downs for the Nittany Lions. On Tuesday night, when the college football playoff rankings appear again, where will Penn State be? Where will the Buckeyes be? What will happen to Michigan? Saquon Barkley right up the gut. Check that Robinson. Andre Robinson found a hole and got to the 43-yard line.
We saw this on tape with Michigan State when their defense is on the field too much. Ohio State hit a couple of those seams. J.T. Barrett and crew, a couple different times, they just split the middle of that defense as those eyes are in the backfield, looking at zone read, looking at some of that edge run, and just right up the gut, one of the rare creases. Focal point at halftime to get that run game corrected. Good execution from the Nittany Lions.
Barkley caught behind the line this time and does well to dodge Robert Bowers and simply get to the sideline, lose only a yard. But there's the negative play on first down that Michigan State needed to create as Chris Fry held the edge as well.
I'm going to be real curious here over the final 22 minutes or so. That Michigan State secondary, those corners with Mark D'Antonio that have been asked to keep everything in front. There has been so much cushion in some of these obvious passing situations. They get burned on a double move. I think it's time to close down that cushion, and you can see it on the perimeter.
Four-man rush on second down and 12. McSorley gets out of the pocket. Heaves one towards the end zone. Underthrown. Gesicki fights for it. He's got it. That's a Penn State touchdown.
Kid's just a gamer. He's been all season long. Gesicki's been a difference maker for him. Love the vertical switch release. Has him early. Trace doesn't see it. Steps up in the pocket. Perfect example of give your big guy a chance. The worst thing you could do, and we saw it on the other side with an open tight end, is sail it over his head. Joe Moorhead likes it, new offensive coordinator, and they sure like Trace McSorley. His teammates love him for situations like that.
Darian Hicks, by the way, injured on that play, so he's now walking off the field very slowly as he tried to fight Gesicki for the football, but that's 6'6", 252 pounds. It's like a power forward going up for a rebound.
And every good tight end and receiver you're ever around says the same thing to the passer. Just give me a chance. Right? They all think they can make every catch in the book, and there's times the quarterback's got to make that decision. But a perfect example right there. Just lay it up, man. Allow your guy to go up and flush it. 40-inch vertical Gesicki, very physically skilled kid that has really been a perfect fit in this system as well, growing each and every week. Really, as this Penn State team has in their 7-game winning streak. That guy's a winner. I know I said in the Indiana game and 55 and 5 in high school, 3 state championships, but you just see it. It emanates from him, it oozes from him, and everybody around him in the culture and in the football program feed off his confidence.
Penn State now has a 2-score lead. They have dominated teams in the second half. But Trace McSorley in the top 5 in America in deep balls thrown scores a touchdown to Gesicki there. We return with a look at this week's college football playoff rankings, brought to you by PlayStation. Alabama seemingly controlling their game with Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Ohio State, of course, an amazing overtime win against Michigan. Clemson plays in the Palmetto Bowl at 7:30 Eastern. Washington, they're headed to the Pac-12 championship game, and lurking there is Penn State with a win over Michigan State. They would get a crack at Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. And boy, could chaos reign for the folks in that committee room. Joey Julius sends one to R.J. Shelton. He will take a knee.
Penn State, they're not thinking about it now. They've got 22 minutes they want to finish. But I bet there's a part of them that's rooting for Wisconsin to come back. They don't need Wisconsin to lose and be out of the playoff hunt. They want those guys next week to be right there in that top 6 to add that to their resume. Because their resume doesn't compare with Ohio State's. Urban Meyer's got 5 top 10 wins this year. Penn State has 1. So they would like, I think, nothing more than Wisconsin to take care of business, find a way to come back and win that game, and meet those guys next week in Indianapolis.
Penn State's 1 win against a top 10 team, though, was against who?
Indeed.
Oh, interesting.
Indeed.
Trap handoff. And not a lot of room there for R.J. Shelton. Let's check in with Allison.
Brock mentioned earlier how you could feel a difference in this crowd and the energy in the second half. There's a difference on this Penn State sideline, too. Offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead was down pumping up the defensive guys. He's been a head coach. He knows it takes both sides. And Saquon Barkley came over to Mike Gesicki and said, hey, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. This is when the team thrives, and they're playing with that kind of confidence and belief here in the second half.
Well, they just shut down L.J. Scott after a gain of only a couple. So once again, they have forced third down.
And once again, they're in one of those passing situations at 3rd and 6, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, different than that first half. It's been the front 4. They're the ones that get off blocks. They're the ones that are penetrating. And I think that group, more than anybody, feeding off the energy of this building.
Blitz coming off the edge. O'Connor throws opposite. Monty Medeiros not only makes the catch, but breaks a tackle as well. And picks up the first down out to the 42. That's a gain of 13 as he was able to squeeze past Christian Campbell.
A few cheers in Columbus, Ohio. A little bit of life for those Buckeye fans that have turned into big Michigan State fans here, as they don't control their destiny and path. And you're right, just one top 10 win, but it was the biggest one they could have had if you're Penn State. It was against those Buckeyes.
Now, there might be some Ohio State fans out there that think you won at number 2 against number 3 today. You're in. You're in the college football playoff. Don't risk even playing a Big Ten championship game. Let Penn State go. Play action. Rolling right is O'Connor. Throws one across his body, and coming back to fight his way to the football is Donnie Corley. And that's a first down in front of Amani Oruwariye. Having said that, though, Brock, do you even want that college football playoff committee to have the debate?
No.
If Penn State goes to the Big Ten championship game and they win, and a team that you lost to and you couldn't even beat in your own division and then went on to win your conference, you're going to leave them out of the playoff and put Ohio State in?
No way. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I am rooting like mad for Michigan State, so you control all of it on the field and not in the committee room.
A pile up at about the 42-yard line as Delton Williams comes up with about a 5-yard gain. It's rivalry weekend. And tonight at 8 on ABC, the Gators and the Noles in Tallahassee. As always, that game streaming live on the ESPN app. You watch ESPN.
And with Louisville's meltdown to end the season, open the door for Florida State, and bigger bowl aspirations for those Seminoles that look to finish strong.
Delton Williams marked down after a gain of only 3, so it's 2nd and 7. Williams again, this time much more effective, close to a first down. He's a yard shy. So another 3rd down coming up for Michigan State. This time, though, only 3rd down and a yard.
You want to take a risk? You got a shot to Josiah Price. You got a one-on-one Much like Penn State hit on the other end to their game changer, you got a one-on-one R.J. Shelton that you can create knowing that this is now 4-down territory. You've got a good one. You've been saving a creative one. Now's the opportunity.
Quarterback sneak. And that looks to be plenty good enough for a first down as Tyler O'Connor picks up 3.
Or with a beat-up O-line, lots of new pieces, lots of new guys in there, and inexperience up front. You just get that first down and give yourself another 4 snaps.
Still Delton Williams in the backfield. Losing the football on the exchange is Tyler O'Connor, who's got it. We've got players both pointing in their respective directions, but it's only the guys in the striped shirts that matter. Which way will they point? Penn State football. The head coach can taste it. A lot of time left, but it's a takeaway, the first turnover of the game for either team.
You see holding linemen, and anytime that occurs, you try to get out of their way as a quarterback, but you have to. I mean, you have to secure that snap. And James Franklin told us 2 things. I said, what do you want to accomplish outside of the win? Obviously, that's priority number 1. He said 2 things. Number 1, win the turnover battle. Take that ball away. That's why he was attacking Brent Pry, the defensive coordinator, knocking his headsets off. And number 2, to play hard. Play as hard as they could play, 6 seconds at a time. And they're winning both of those columns right now.
Barkley. A gain of about 2.5. Riley Bulla. Mike Panasuk. Combine on the tackle. Very slow to get up. And not even able to put any weight on that right leg is Saquon Barkley. Mark Allen is already in the huddle. And Mike Gesicki's telling Saquon Barkley, get back down on the turf and let the trainers come and take a look at you. Let's quickly check in with Adnan. So Alabama has a 2-score lead, and State with a 2-score lead, but their best player, and probably the best player in the stadium today, is on the bench right now, and it looks like he has a knee injury to worry about. Saquon Barkley, and the head coach is over there just as concerned. 2nd down and 7 as Mark Allen takes over at tailback to the right of McSorley.
Situation they found themselves in last week. A lot of opportunities for Robinson and Allen. They finished strong a week ago.
Play action. Another deep ball. Out in front. It's Godwin. Touchdown. Penn State's on a 7-game win streak. During this streak, they have averaged over 39 points per game, and they've got 31 on the board still with 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter.
It's awfully fun when you study, you prep, you put a game plan together, and you see it executed. Last night we were looking at tape, and I said, these guys are going to be in a bind at some point in this game. Joe Moorhead, offensive coordinator, is too good. They're going to take shots on the perimeter, and you can see the play-action fake once again drawing the safety to no man's land, and look at all of this area of the field to take advantage. And now you're taking advantage against a redshirt freshman in David Dowell. tendencies come to life for a reason at the end of the year. And Trace McSorley has been doing this all season long. He's been one of the 5 best in shot plays in all of college football. They're good at it, and it shows up on the stat sheet. And taking advantage of inexperienced players in big moments. It's what Godwin has done, and it's what that kid has done, and that's why that coach loves it.
R.J. Shelton from the goal line. Doesn't even make it to the 20. Trace McSorley came into today second best in FBS with 16 completions of 40 or more yards. He's got 2 more today. That last one for the touchdown. Now there's this idea that it's the zone read with McSorley and Saquon Barkley, and certainly that has been what has powered this offense, but those play-action shots off of that, he throws it down the field over and over again, and with tremendous success.
Somebody other than Barkley's got to beat us tonight. Well, somebody has. And there's still time. There's still 17 minutes, but you're playing into the teeth of this defense, this crowd, this momentum. And good for you, Trace McSorley. You showed everybody once again what you're capable of, what you've done all season long now on the biggest stage you found yourself on.
L.J. Scott back in the game, fighting through a knee injury and fighting for whatever yards he can get up the middle for about 3.
And by the way, Chris Godwin's not bad either. Double-digit catches last year, a couple touchdowns in this matchup. There's just games that become matchups at times. We talk about it in hoops all the time, but you see it as well with the structure of coverages and opportunities that you get to deliver on.
I went to Boston College. A few years ago, I called Penn State against BC in the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium, and as a Boston College fan, I had nightmares about Chris Godwin. I mean, it was one deep ball after another. He is a great player when you get him some time and space. Flags down just as the ball was snapped.
And he's getting a pick on freshmen, redshirt freshmen.
Full start. Offense number 59. 5-yard penalty. Still second.
And this is a little indicative of what Mark D'Antonio has faced all season long. He knew his guys would fight. We knew that coming in. And man, did they ever in that first half. 4 possessions up and down the field, controlled the ball. But you start to see your inexperience, and his starter goes out, and injury after injury, and even more piled on tonight. You've got too many guys in spots they've never been on and been in against an opponent that was just feasting on that inexperience.
Up the seam, Monty Medeiros lost the football. It was jarred free. Marcus Allen with the hit. It looked like Medeiros not only had the football, but a big gain as well until Allen took it away.
And that's textbook, more pressure, single safety. That's your job. You have got to dislodge receiver from football, and he does it the way you want to see him do it. That strike zone right there in the sternum. And you hit him with the force, drive the ball out, and you drive Michigan State once again into a nearly impossible situation with their offensive line against this group defensively.
Four-man rush. Under pressure. O'Connor at the 5. Down he goes again. Kevin Givens, the redshirt freshman, is there to get a sack all the way back to the 7.
There's that line stuff that this group is so good at. Just play 7 in coverage. It can run and cover everybody up, and then allow those 4 to stunt. Givens is an animal. He was a former end. He's put on weight. 260-pound D tackle. Just prototypical to run those kind of stunts on 3rd down. Can almost taste it in this building, can't you? To where this program was 5 years ago to now be 15 minutes away from a trip to a conference championship in a division with Michigan, with Ohio State.
And this play blown dead at the line as Hartbarger's punt was deflected.
The third quarter expired.
But that takes us all the way down to the end of the 3rd quarter. We head to the 4th with Penn State trying to get to the Big Ten championship game. They've got some kind of lead. What a college football Saturday it's been. That means tomorrow's another NFL Sunday, and you can begin it at 10 a.m. with NFL Insider Sunday edition. All the injury news, the fantasy updates, the early breaking stories. Then at 11, the new Sunday NFL Countdown crew takes you right up to kickoff. Both shows streaming live on the ESPN app. And watch ESPN. Hart Barger from the end zone to start the fourth quarter. Fair catch called for and made at about the 48-yard line by Garrity. Let's check in again with Adnan. And Wisconsin wants to be in that college football playoff conversation as well. To do that, they have to beat Minnesota. And then it will be Wisconsin, and it looks like Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. That's if Penn State can hold on here in the fourth quarter. Miles Sanders goes right up the middle. And Allison, there's a reason Miles Sanders is in the game. That's because Saquon Barkley is out.
Yeah, he is, guys. They put ice on his right ankle. He is sitting on the training table, towel over his head, looking rather dejected. So he'll watch the rest of this game from the sideline. The big question, though, if you're a Penn State fan, is how his availability is affected going forward.
Now, that will be the story all week heading up towards the Big Ten championship game, assuming Penn State holds on here in the fourth quarter. What is the injury to Saquon Barkley, and how severe is it? Trace McSorley off the fingertips of Deshaun Hamilton, but Brock playing into the idea that Trace McSorley has continued to develop as a leader in this program. This was the scene while we were away.
Awesome.
What does that tell you about a redshirt sophomore quarterback?
It's his team. Saquon's the superstar, and he's the guy, and he's the engine, but Trace is the guy. He's Robin. That's Batman and Robin between those two that have put themselves in the position they are. And that's tremendous leadership, and that tells me that very clearly Trace has the pulse of this team. He knows this team, and he's the ringleader.
Third down and 7, 5-man rush. McSorley extending the play. Keeps it alive and eventually takes a punishing hit from Raekwon Williams. It'll be fourth down, and Penn State will have to punt. Let's go back down again to Allison.
Just talking about Trace McSorley and his leadership. I mean, he doesn't just do it in what he says. It's the way he plays. He said he just tries to go out there and give everything he can for this team. And he said it's just something I hope rubs off on other people. But that's a mentality I'm going to play with no matter what. And I talked to him earlier this week about what was the turning point in the season for this team. And he said it was after that loss to Michigan. And he got together with some other leaders on this offense. And they began their preparation for the week early. They started taking Mondays, their off day, to go in there and watch film, and they approach things with a new sense of urgency.
Well, special teams adds on for Penn State. Perfect kick by Blake Gilligan. Penn State with the lead. Welcome back to Beaver Stadium. It's a party here in the fourth quarter because that's a crowd that thinks their team is going to the Big Ten championship game. 31-12. Penn State has the lead over Michigan State, so it will take some kind of Spartan comeback to keep the Nittany Lions from Indianapolis. Gerald Holmes in the game at tailback. Throwing from the end zone is O'Connor. Long throw to the sideline. And Donnie Corley reaches up, makes the catch, about a half-yard shy of a first down.
Yeah, it's one thing for a guy up in a booth saying, yeah, the kid's got the pulse, he's the heartbeat of the team. Watch it by the reaction of the sidelines. Big-time shot from Raekwon Williams there on the quarterback. Look at the bench. Look at them come to life. You get off the leader of our team. And to have one another's back, it's what every coach covets. And to build that culture, and you see it there in pictures.
First down run, and a good one from Gerald Holmes. Out to the 19-yard line. Koa Farmer there to make the stop, but that's plenty good enough for a Michigan State first down.
see the sense of urgency you've got to have on Michigan State's side. They're fast, but never in a hurry.
O'Connor under pressure, another sack. This one for Parker Cothran. Curtis Cothran there as well. Fourth sack of the game for Penn State, forces second down and 12. And Michigan State a little late coming out of the huddle. Play clock already down to 8. Here comes the blitz. Shovel pass. Josiah Price. Breaking tackles. That's a good run. It looks like he's got the first down. And tonight after college football on ESPN. Don't miss SportsCenter at night with Bucci and Kevin Connors. A full recap, reactions from rivalry weekend in college football, and all the implications it will have on the college football playoff rankings. Of course, the NBA, the NHL, college basketball, NFL news as well. A packed Saturday. It'll be streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. And Josiah Price did pick up the first down, but has not gotten up yet. He was tackled hard by Garrett Sickles on the play. And let's hope it's just the wind knocked out of a terrific tight end. So we have an injury timeout. We'll come right back to Beaver Stadium.
Brought to you by Novartis and Firestone Complete Auto Care, keeping cars running newer, longer since 1926.
Some coaches hide their emotions. Some coaches don't. James Franklin doesn't. He is celebrating on the sideline every big momentum-swinging play right along with his players. And there is a magic carpet ride feel about the year that Penn State has had ever since they got a blocked field goal return for a touchdown for Grant Haley against the Buckeyes. John Reed is there in coverage, but a flag thrown. And as 29 on 29, Reed was tracking the true freshman Donnie Corley. And this will be the first penalty called against the Nittany Lions. And we're 3 minutes into the fourth quarter.
Pass interference, defense number 29. 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down.
We saw those two tango earlier, and Reed ran the freshman Corley right out of bounds. And this time, Corley, at least to a degree, tries to come back and fight for the ball. That's iffy. I don't think he had any chance on an underthrown pass right there. But a little more fight from the true freshman.
Well, that is what you can expect over these last 12 minutes from Michigan State. They will keep on fighting you. There's no doubt about that. Donnie Corley on the end around barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. May have lost a half yard, so it will be second down and long. Evan Schwan stayed home and made the stop.
Fifth-year senior playing his final game in this stadium. Like many on that defensive line, wonderful story. Waiting your time, paying your dues, building your body up. Put yourself in a position now as a fifth-year senior to take advantage. Freshmen versus juniors and seniors.
Here comes another blitz. They try to throw a screen behind it. Schwan had Gerald Holmes wrapped up and tried to throw him to the ground and didn't get him down. And the second effort from Holmes just about gets him back to the line of scrimmage.
He's looking for the ball.
I think he thought that was going to be enough. And Gerald Holmes with some strength to stay upright, but it's now third down and 12. Incomplete. Intended for Donnie Corley. So now it's fourth down in a 3-score game with 11 minutes to go. Is Mark D'Antonio going to leave his offense on the field? The punt group poised, and it now looks like they will come onto the field. There was some hesitation. But fourth down and 12 percentage-wise, with 11 minutes to go and all 3 timeouts. This is the right play, isn't it?
It is. And pretty remarkable how in just 12 months the scripts have totally flipped. A year ago, it was D'Antonio clinching a Big Ten East with veterans and seniors and juniors all over the place.
That's a heck of a punt from Hartbarger that sails all the way down to the end zone. 10:53 to go in regulation time. Penn State has it back when we return. All right, Adnan, thanks very much. And Brock, that's the news that Penn State fans were hoping for. They want Wisconsin to win that game because if they hold on and beat Michigan State, they play Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game next week. And back to the offense without Saquon Barkley goes Penn State. Mark Allen picks up about 5, maybe 6 yards just across the 25-yard line. And this was a look a moment ago of Saquon Barkley on the bench. He's got the right shoe off. And he's got Saeed Blacknall catching his toe there. Ouch.
But I must say that's good news.
How so?
You're not x-rayed. You're not carted off the field. There's no air cast on there. The ability to even put weight on it and walk it off. Penn State fan just hopes that's a slight ankle sprain that he can come back from next week. Wisconsin fan probably feeling a little differently. Getting stood up in the middle of that pile was Mark Allen by Andrew Dowell. But how about the day for Trace McSorley? Big plays again. It was this game to win. It was clear that Michigan State was going to commit resources to stop that run, stop Saquon Barkley. And Trace McSorley just did what he's done all season long. He's protected the football. He's hit his shots downfield. Chris Godwin, how about 4 for 4 on the night? Over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is when you become potent. Right, when you can do it through the air, when you can do it on the ground, when you can hit the big play, when you can churn out games and finish in the second half, you become a top 5 team in the country. McSorley on 3rd down to the sideline. Trying to come back to help out. His quarterback was Jawan Johnson, but that trailed out of bounds. So it will be a 4th down for Penn State. You can see those efficiency numbers off the charts, the big plays. That's why they're here. That's why they're in this position to head to Indianapolis next week, a position that nobody ever could have imagined when they were thrashed by Michigan 49-10 and sat there at 2-2. But as Allison hinted at and talked about, the leadership, that offense saying we've got to grow up, we've got to do our part. And then, they complement it with a really terrific defense. And when it has a lead, like it does right now, it's very difficult to do anything against. Fair catch for Brandon Sowards. Well, I noticed you said that when you're operating the way they're operating offensively, you're a top 5 team in the country. Right. You didn't say a top 4 team in the country. So what would have to happen for Penn State to actually be in that Final Four and make the college football playoff? You'd have to beat Wisconsin convincingly. You hope Wisconsin wins and can find a way to hold on and beat Minnesota tonight. Would that add to their resume? Is there a chance that that's it, or would they need help somewhere else? I think there's probably a little help they would need elsewhere, whether that's in the Pac-12, whether that's at Bedlam, whether it's some of those other situations around the country in championship weekend next week. O.J. Scott out to the 39-yard line, a gain of 8. Koa Farmer brought him down. You win the turnover battle. You don't hurt yourself with penalties. You sack the quarterback at high rates. You're the best, second best fourth quarter team in America. You start putting those pieces together, and you see why you've won now with a chance to win now 8 games in a row, get to 10 wins, and win your division. Scott picks up the 1st down and win your division and get to the Big Ten championship game. And if Penn State won it, how hard of a debate will that be in that room between maybe Penn State and Ohio State alone? You've got a team that beat Ohio State head-to-head, that won the division that Ohio State plays in, and if they were also the conference champion on top of that. Yep. 1st and 10 here for Michigan State. And again, slipping and falling coming out of his break was Monty Medeiros. Although you ran through Ohio State's resume a short time ago, you add in the win against Michigan today. Is that enough to make it a moot point? Ohio State would be ahead of ahead of Penn State. I think I can say pretty confidently, no one has a better resume right now than Ohio State. You went down, you won at Oklahoma. You beat not even Alabama. Top 10 teams. No, with where the Big Ten was this year versus the SEC and the number of top-ranked teams that they took down and found ways to win and did so in double overtime today in a remarkable way against Michigan. No better resume. Now that's resume. That doesn't say team. Alabama is the best team. Alabama just hasn't had the quality of competition, the top 10 wins that Ohio State has had. But #1 team in America, and they're proving in the Iron Bowl once again tonight, is Alabama. And I don't think there's any question. There's no better resume than Ohio State. And there's no more dilemma that committee will have. And if Penn State finishes this and then goes and beats up a Wisconsin team next week, of just how strong that conference championship
3rd down and 10
really means in that debate.
Another blitz coming. Under pressure again is O'Connor. Hit as he throws. It's a jump ball. And it's incomplete. Donnie Corley guarded by Christian Campbell. And it'll be 4th down with 8:26 to go.
And this is just the difference. A tale of two halves. More pressure from Penn State. You knew it was coming. They wanted to get Michigan State off schedule. And nobody's been able to block them. Ohio State couldn't. J.T. Barrett and crew felt exactly what Tyler's feeling right now. In their 4th quarter, and James Franklin, what he's built on that D-line. Play 8, 9, 10 guys. Relentless.
Michigan State had their punt group about 5 or 6 yards out on the field. Now they'll probably have to call timeout as the play clock is down to 5 because Mark D'Antonio then pulled the punt group back and said, no, we're going to go for it. But the play clock wound all the way down. So Michigan State calls timeout. They'll be faced with 4th down and 10 when we come back. They're having fun here in Happy Valley. Their team up and forcing 4th and 10 with a 31-12 lead and showing blitz. Only a 4-man rush. Tyler O'Connor throws one into traffic and it's incomplete. Penn State gets the ball back on downs with 8:22 to go.
That man's called a lot of the right shots. In the conversation at halftime with his group defensively, that's Brent Pry, the D coordinator, had to be one of effort. I just want a little bit more out of you. You held your own, you gave up 4 field goals, but I know there's more there. And I know if we get a lead, we can shut these guys out. And I love what he said to us a few weeks ago at Indiana. He said those losses early in the year against Pitt and Michigan, that adversity made us who we are today. And I think in many ways, not to go too big picture, but over the last 5 years of this program, I think there's something to be said that the adversity that they overcame here when everybody counted them out and could not imagine them being in this kind of position has played a big role in the grit and determination they have.
McSorley coming back to help his quarterback is Blacknall. Picked up 4 yards. Yeah, are we watching the Cinderella story in college football this year? Because we called that Penn State Pitt game back earlier in the season, and we walked out of Heinz Field, I'm sure never imagining, just as many else would, and then a few weeks later when Penn State got drubbed by Michigan, to think that they're on their way to the Big Ten championship game?
I don't even know who's in that debate.
McSorley, long throw to the sideline, and once again making the catch is Chris Godwin.
And this is go finish. Just a little conversation on that sideline. Joe Moorhead, head coach, James Franklin, coordinator Moorhead, go finish. Go finish this team off. We don't just need 3 runs and punt. Go down and put the capper on this thing and end it and get us ready for a trip for the Big Ten title next week. I mean, who's even in that conversation? Western Michigan? I mean, they're a wonderful story as they've run the table this year, but as far as Cinderella and where they have come from this season, Oklahoma, no, because there were huge expectations on them before the season. I don't think there's any other story, Cinderella story, better than this one.
Andre Robinson for 4 yards. That will take the clock down inside of 7 minutes to go before Penn State will officially win the Big Ten East and head to Indianapolis, as again we have another injured Spartan. And this is a microcosm of the Spartan season as their training staff has been way too busy. Let's check in with Adnan. All right, Adnan, thanks very much. So it looks like the Badgers will put away the Golden Gophers. That is Mike Panasiuk the true freshman that has risen up the depth chart. And he has, it looks like, some type of a right arm, maybe right wrist injury, so they bring him off the field. Indy Lions taking their time, looking over to the sideline, and now they start to signal in the play with the play clock down to 20.
This has been the guy when they isolate him away from the formation if they want a one-on-one shot.
Instead, they'll run it inside the 10, inside the 5, and into the end zone is Andre Robinson. The 5th rushing touchdown this season for the redshirt freshman Andre Robinson. And it's 38-12. How did Penn State arrive where we are now? They've had some key games that have affected them this season. How about against Minnesota? Tyler Davis with a 40-yarder with 2 seconds left that forced overtime, and then in overtime, Saquon Barkley won it 29-26. Of course, the play of the college football season, arguably. Grant Haley returning the blocked field goal against Ohio State for what would be the game-winning touchdown, and then Michigan losing to Iowa on Keith Duncan's 33-yarder opens it up so that if Ohio State beats Michigan, Penn State would go to the Big Ten championship game, and that is exactly what happened earlier today in overtime at the Horseshoe. A lot of dominoes had to fall James Franklin's way, but they did, and they win the Big Ten East. 6.5 minutes away from the official celebration.
Pretty remarkable run, isn't it? And I would contend for their team in-house, I mean, all those dominoes outside of house they couldn't control. But in-house, when you believe, when you truly believe that you can do it. And those were the steps, as James Franklin said to us this season, as they found these ways to win in overtime. Make the plays against top team in the country or number 2 with Ohio State. That you just create a sense of belief that you can overcome anything.
Let's head back to Adnan. All right, Adnan, thanks very much. Well, the Palmetto Bowl coming up, as Adnan just said. So let's say Clemson does work the way we think they will tonight as a big favorite against their rival in South Carolina. What does the standings look like? What do the rankings look like on Tuesday night if that result ends up as anticipated? As Michigan State starts at their own 25-yard line, draw play. And there is some room there for L.J. Scott. Yeah,
I think Washington has put themselves in a position to be in the 4.
Okay. And where's Penn State?
I think Penn State's probably 6.
Where is Michigan?
7 for me when you lose twice down the stretch of the season with those opportunities.
Who's 5th?
Right there, Wisconsin. And it sets up one heck of a championship weekend.
Medeiros spun down about 2 yards shy of the first down by Brandon Bell. Is there a chance that the committee would say, with Michigan, we thought Michigan and Ohio State were the 2nd and 3rd best teams in the country, and they basically played to a draw because Ohio State won in miraculous fashion at home in overtime as Tyler O'Connor throws one underneath. That is good enough for a first down. Is there any chance they would say, you know what, we were right. They are the 2nd and 3rd best teams in the country. We're leaving them in the top 4.
Could be. And further evidence is the injuries, which we know they consider. And when they had Wilton Spate under center, they were a different team. And they went toe-to-toe, in many ways outplayed Ohio State until the end and could not finish and had critical turnovers. just know if I sit in that committee room, how you play down the stretch and you lose a couple games in November, that matters to me. Versus a Penn State team that's won 8 in a row. A Wisconsin team that's playing their best ball and on a winning streak, and they've put themselves in a position to win a conference championship next week in Indianapolis. And I think if you ask Mark D'Antoni about what James Franklin's done this year and playing against this opponent tonight in this building, he would say, yep, put them in a position in the final weekend of the season. Put them in a position to play for one of the final 4 spots.
Screen thrown and almost intercepted. Brandon Bell read the screen and came up and almost got a sliding pick. It'll be 3rd down and 10. It is a great debate.
Sure is.
Because there's a chance the Big Ten championship game will be played, as we take another look at the near interception by Bell. The Big Ten championship game will be played by 2 teams, both in the top 6. And you're telling me there's a chance that the winner of that game doesn't have the chance to be in the top 4.
Yep, and 5 and 6 both lost to Michigan. In my standings, if Michigan falls 2-7. Michigan beat both of them. Michigan drugged this Penn State team early in the season. Different team, different makeup.
There's a check down once again. And getting to the sideline is Delton Williams, but net by Grant Haley. Now it's 4th down with 5 minutes to go. And once again, it looked like for a second Michigan State might go for it, but now Mark D'Antonio truly is waving the white flag. He's going to send his punt group out. And it's been that kind of an afternoon for Mark D'Antonio, and it's been that kind of a season for Michigan State. Booming kick once again. Ray Garrity fields it on a fair catch inside the 20 off the boot of Hartbarger. Well, it is rivalry weekend, and tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN, we'll have the Palmetto Bowl. South Carolina visits Death Valley and number 4 Clemson. The Tigers want to keep their college football playoff hopes alive, and they can certainly do so with a win over the Gamecocks. As always, streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN.
Back to that Michigan conversation as well, and I know Jim Harbaugh upset about the officiating.
Yes.
But to me, you're up 17-7 in total control of the game. You've thrown a pick 6. You fumble at the 1-yard line. You throw another interception to turn the whole momentum of that game.
And that second interception was the one that really changed the game.
Those are 3 enormous giveaways and takeaways from the other perspective, from the Buckeye perspective, that knocked them out.
Play action for McSorley. He's looking deep again. Reaching up to make the catch is Juwan Johnson. And in case you're wondering why, up 38-12, Penn State continues to take shots downfield. Well, last year, Michigan State didn't take their foot off the gas pedal at the end of what was a lopsided win against these Nittany Lions.
You think they remember that around here?
I would think there might be a little bit of payback in the minds of James Franklin and the Nittany Lions, that you, at the end of the game last season, had your fun. Well, this year we get a chance to have our fun with 4 minutes to go. McSorley again. Again, he's looking deep. This time for Irvin Charles. Incomplete. And part of the fun that Michigan State had last season, Brian Allen's older brother, Jack, who is now gone, but he was the starting center. He got a chance to score a touchdown. And that's his brother taking the ball away. Brian stole it from Jack. And it was a lot of smiles and a lot of laughing going on the sideline of what was really an embarrassing way for Penn State to finish
over 50
the
points.
season.
Sure. You think any of this is style points? The Penn State saying to everybody in that committee as well that, hey, Ohio State, 17-16, tight game. Michigan, tight game with Michigan State. And we routed them.
That one intended for Juwan Johnson again. And you mentioned how the second half numbers were going to tell the story. Well, both teams played to their numbers. Yep. Michigan State this year has been terrible. Penn State's been one of the best teams in football in the second half and in the fourth quarter in particular.
Now, you're going to do this, take your shots. You better make sure you protect your quarterback, because I'm going to guess a blitz is coming.
Here comes that blitz. A flip pass over the middle, Andre Robinson. Wide open, and into the end zone for another touchdown.
This may be one of the more compelling handshakes we've had all season. And this is a back and forth. And Mark D'Antonio said to us yesterday, hey, we've been on the other side of the rainbow. We've tasted an awful lot of success for a long time in our building. And we're unfortunately getting to taste the other side of it. And James Franklin said, we've waited a long time, and there have been an awful lot of tears and heartache in this community for where this program once was to what it's taken to build it back up. And they're going to savor and enjoy every moment when they've got an opportunity. As for me and my house, I think we're probably about done. I want to probably prepare for that Big Ten championship next week. I thought that last drive was the final dagger. An opportunity to really put your stamp on it. This one feels maybe just a little over the top, but then again, I haven't felt what this program has felt for the last 5 years.
He doesn't look like a redshirt sophomore in terms of how he plays and also in terms of how the older upperclassmen members of this team react to Trace McSorley.
How much different for your program? Not only looking in the rearview mirror, more importantly, looking through the windshield to have a centerpiece to recruit around, to build around. Not only Barkley is a true sophomore coming back next year, but to have that position solidified to continue to grow with, huge advantage.
Line drive kick. That will hook out of bounds inside the 5-yard line from Joey Julius.
Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line on the right hash.
And Penn State just keeps the offense rolling. This will be their 8th consecutive win. The last time they won 8-0 in the Big Ten, back in 1994. And they are averaging over 40 points per game during this win streak. And it is Trace McSorley and Saquon Barkley, that combination that has triggered what has been a magic carpet ride. Yep. We'll see if it continues next week. And of course, the story this week, if you're a Penn State fan, how significant is the injury to Saquon Barkley as Delton Williams runs for a couple of yards.
And I think that shot you had of James Franklin talking and covering up his microphone, I think that's probably a talk to the booth. You saw Moorhead, saw the receiver coach, you saw all of them say, okay,
we've proved our point.
Yeah, we can call off the dogs. You know, that's enough. And even if they're giving us the looks and they're blitzing and giving us one-on-ones, let's find a way. We made our statement. We made it loud and clear. We're a second-half team. We were not going to flinch, not going to panic whatsoever in the first half. Going to trust the processes that young kid has in his development. And what a process it's been in 2016.
Up the middle goes O'Connor. Well, this is the 3rd season for James Franklin at Penn State. He won 6 games year 1. He won 7 games year 2. He's about to win 10 games with games still to play now in year 3. And we have another Spartan injury. David Beadle, who's only playing at guard because Brandon Clemens was knocked out of the game earlier.
I don't think I've ever been around something quite like this. And neither has Mark D'Antonio. 2-9 in 1986 at Youngstown State. And he said 1-9 until the finale. First year with Jim Tressel there at Youngstown. And never a season quite like this, as beat up as they have been in every single position group. Typically it's one. For Penn State, it's been their O-line. You know, that injury bug hit them hard. A lot of moving pieces. For Michigan State, it's been D-line, been linebacker, been secondary, been O-line, been quarterback tonight. Just about every position group been hit really hard this season.
Blitz again. Almost intercepted. Intended for Tristan Jackson. It'll be 4th down with 2:21 to go. Is Is there a coach, though, that you would have more belief in to right the ship and make this an anomaly rather than a trend than Mark D'Antonio?
Nope, and a lot of these freshmen that played would have been redshirted years ago. But they had to play this year, and they took their lumps, and they got physically beat up for it. But their development, it is a development program, and their development in that resume speaks for itself through a decade plus.
Again, the blitz comes on 4th down. O'Connor high over the middle and almost intercepted. It is a turnover on downs. And again, Tyler O'Connor has to pick himself up off the deck as Aaron Monroe almost had a chance at an interception. With 2:17 to go, Penn State, barring Michigan State calling timeouts, which they will obviously not do, on this possession just about to the point where they could take a knee. There was not an article written about coaches on the hot seat at the beginning of this college football season that didn't include the name James Franklin. And now he's going to take his team to a Big Ten championship.
Well, I'll raise my hand and I'll take accountability for comments I made this offseason with Paul Feinbaum. And I didn't know. I knew that he's an excellent coach, proven that at Vanderbilt. I just didn't know from a fit perspective if this was going to be the right fit. And he proved me wrong. He proved most around the country wrong. He proved all those articles about the hot seat at 2-2 wrong.
Miles Sanders, the true freshman, goes out of bounds with 35 seconds to go. So the clock will not roll the way that it ought to have.
And he put together a couple top 20 recruiting classes. Well on his way to do so once again. Got a quarterback now that he's going to build this thing around. He made staff changes, which are hard to do, Bob. You know, when you've had loyal friends through the years, position coach, your O-line coach, coordinator, he made those hard changes, and it's paid an awful lot of dividends this year for Penn State.
Breaking some tackles and getting down inside the 30-yard line. Irvin Pye, pardon me. So with 1:42 to go, Tommy Stevens has taken over at quarterback, by the way. As you can see, why put Trace McSorley back out there up 45-12. And now a flag is thrown.
There's no foul on the play. First down.
I think that was a miscount by the officials who thought one of the two teams might have had 12 on the field, but they get the count right.
And what a matchup next week in Indianapolis. Two battle-tested teams have been through early season adversity and have done nothing but get stronger and stronger through the course of the season. And we've seen both this year. It's our third time calling a Penn State game. We saw Wisconsin earlier, and I think that's going to be one heck of a matchup.
Who do you like?
Probably like the quarterback play of Trace McSorley. I've got to know if Barkley's there, though they have depth at the running back position. I like the way he's playing in those moments, quarterback versus a Wisconsin team that at times has a real hard time finding balance offensively.
Sanders reverses field.
I think I can say this confidently, though. If Penn State gets a lead in that game, look out. Look out. If James Franklin and his crew can put together a first half that in any way looks like their second halves, that they're going to find a way to be Big Ten champs and make a real statement and create a real debate in that committee room.
What ought to be the final play as the crowd celebrates the Big Ten East Championship for Penn State and a trip to the Big Ten title game. Stevens takes one last snap, flips it in the left flat. And Michigan State will converge, but that will end the game. The unlikeliest of Big Ten divisional champions, the Penn State Nittany Lions are headed to Indianapolis to meet Wisconsin for the Big Ten title. And what a season it has been for Trace McSorley, and what a game today. Let's head down to Allison.
Thank you guys so much. Coach Franklin, in a season, on a night when so much was out of your control, how did you keep your team focused on what they could control?
Because everything was in our control. The only thing we were focused on in Michigan was Michigan State. We took control of that. I'm really proud of our guys. Got a great staff, got great kids.
As you have all season, another monstrous second half, 35 unanswered points. What does that say about this team?
We don't like to score points in the first half. We get things ironed out. Just really proud of our kids. I'm happy for this community. I'm thankful for all the lettermen that flew in from all over the country to support us.
You just said you're happy for this community. How would you describe what it feels like to bring some happy back to Happy Valley?
Well, if I ever left my office, I could experience some of it, but we'll have plenty of time for that in the off season.
James, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, Brock, he's got a little more time to spend at his office as they're heading to the Big Ten championship game.
Congratulations to the program. That early season adversity made them one tough out.
For Allison and Brock, I'm Bob Wischusen. Penn State wins it. We head back to Adnan and the college football scoreboard.